everybody. We're back again with an edition of our Clover Connections. And today we're really excited to be joined by our Wisconsin 4-H Program Manager, Don Danita Fleary-Simmons. Everybody, we're really excited. We get to call her Dee, and I'm guessing she'll allow you guys to do that too. So we're going to call you Dee from this point forward, Dee, as we have this conversation. We are here to talk a little bit about the frequently asked questions document that was just updated on August 7th. It's on our website. And Dee, we've been getting a couple of questions in some of the county offices, so we thought we'd just invite you in to talk a little bit about some of the questions that we have. And
thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share and give information directly to volunteers. I hope they find it helpful.
So Dee, the most popular question in my county has been, when can people meet in person?
Yep, that's a popular question, and it's one that I share. We're already meeting in person, so I just want to clarify that and make sure that people understand that we've been meeting in person since the beginning of July. It's how do we meet in person that I think is the bigger question, and that is that we meet in groups of 10 or fewer. And there's limitations on the time that we can spend if it's indoors versus outdoors and things like that. But I do want to clarify that we are meeting in person now.
Jill, I'm going to have you do a follow-up question that might help.
Yeah. So one of the other questions that I know that we've been getting a lot of is, you know, if we're meeting in 10, do I need to have approval to meet in that group of 10? I've been hearing a lot about these approval forms. What is that? When do I need to have them? What is this pre-approval that I need to have in order to have those meetings in person?
Yeah, so one of the criteria to have the meetings in person is that we're really able to show that we are handling ourselves with regard to COVID and risk. And so if you are looking at that FAQ, you'll see that there's a link there that takes you to a training that's specifically designed for our volunteers and our partners to really help you to understand how to meet the standards that we're asking. Your educators trained in even more detail on how to make sure that they can make those events happen with you. There's several things that are really important in that. One is that we're able to obviously have social distance, that we're able to make sure hands are washed or sanitized when they can't be washed, that nobody's coming into the event sick, that everybody's understanding that they're going to need to wear a face mask as part of the event unless there's a health reason why they can't. And so those are sort of the basic things that are going to be true for almost everything. And then there's some specific details that you work out with your educator.
And Dee, when do I need to fill those out? Is it every time I meet in person, or is it, if it's a group of 10 or less, do I need to have that filled out?
Yeah, you always need to have the form filled out. It's our way of sort of documenting what we're doing. And in fact, officially that has to be reviewed all the way up through our dean. So he's giving permission for all of these events to occur. And obviously he doesn't know the events as you all do. So he's got to have enough information to be able to make the decision that it's safe and well planned going forward. It does have to be completed for every new event. So I just want to clarify, if you're having club meetings and you're going to meet every week or every other week, and it's the same kiddos, the same adults that are going to be participating in it, then you can use the exact same form and put on multiple dates like you would in other kinds of scheduling. If you're going to have something that's different, a different type of event, a different place, different youth that are involved or different families are involved, then that requires a different form altogether. It may have the exact same information, so it should be pretty easy to fill out, but just those little differences require it to have a different form. And we're going to be doing that for a while. We are seeing that forms are coming in. They're coming in really good shape. We're hoping to be able to move to where we need less of those, but for now, for the foreseeable future, we're going to require a form for everything.
So those forms are available, everyone as a volunteer. Just contact your local educator and we will help you fill out that form. In most cases, it's not something that you'll have public access to, but call your local extension office. And one of two things, will either help you walk through them and fill them out together with you, or we'll give you the training so you can fill it out and send it in to us. We are here to help you through the process. We know that it's not easy for you. It wasn't easy for us as we got started. I also think it's important that you know as volunteers that as a staff member, if I want to hold an event, I'm filling out that form too. So it's not just you guys as volunteers that are leading clubs and groups, it's everyone. And it's across all of our extension programs, not just 4-H either. So Dawn, I know you had a question a little bit about some of the new words that are in the FAQs that talk about a word called pods.
Yeah, so in the FAQ document, it refers to pods as a way that we can get, slightly larger groups together, or group more multiple pods. I think it says a couple of times in the document. Tell us more about what the pod system is.
Okay, so we're running out of words when we start to use things like pods. But what we really mean is that we can have more than one group. And so we're calling each group a pod when we do that. We can have up to 5 groups. Now the groups have to remain distanced from one another by 20 feet. And those multiple groups can only happen when the event's occurring outside. So outside, 20 feet or more apart. And then you can have those 5 groups. They shouldn't be sharing anything in common. So let me give you an example. You might have 3 pods, and each pod is made up of 10 people. So each pod is a group. In one group, it's 10 individuals that are coming from 10 different households. So each of those 10 people needs to be 6 feet apart. So you're talking about 60 square feet. Then the next group or pod might have a family of 6 and another family of 4. That family of 6 can all sit together just as close as they want. And that family of 4 can sit together as closely as it wants, but they need to be 6 feet from each other. And they need to be 20 feet from the other pod or group. And then you may have a third group that has, a family of 5 and another family of 5. And again, they can sit closely together within their families or their households, but then socially distant 6 feet apart from each other within the group and 20 feet between the groups. I know it sounds like everybody needs a tape measure, and that might be something we need to think about, but most of us could also just walk off 20 steps and come up with pretty close to 20 feet and see where those distances are. We've seen those kind of things happen, for example, if you're going to do like drive-in style or picnic blanket style, where people are sort of sitting out on a lawn together, and then whoever's leading the group might be speaking into a loudspeaker or a microphone, socially distanced from 20 feet from any of those groups. So often, your educator can help you to kind of set up a configuration that works, because it really is important that we don't have any moving or sharing between the groups. So what would not be okay is for the educator or whoever's running the group to go from one pod to another pod, moving around throughout the event. I hope that's helpful.
That is super helpful. I think it gives some really good ideas out there for clubs and groups who are wanting to think about how to do things. I think it's also really important, as we mentioned earlier, to remember that your local educator is there to help you think through. Your club is small and 15 to 20 people, you have options. Your club is large, has 50 people, you have options. Your club is extra large and has 100 members. Call your local office. We are here to think through some of those options. And we thank you at the state office for coming up with different ideas that help us to expand that pool from 10 or less individually to thinking about things like that pod and drive-in movie.
I just wanted to say that one of the reasons to call your educators is we're keeping track of all of the different things that people submit that get approved. And so they can actually dig into those resources and help you come up with ideas for how to do the things that you want. We really wanted to keep it at the educator level as opposed to trying to train our massive number of volunteers, because that way we're more fluid. So as things change and we're able to have more flexibility, they'll know it right away and we'll be able to implement it right away. I also want to say that even though it sounds really hard, and it is, it's a lot of challenges that go into it, a lot of extra work, people are doing it. And so we've had more than 300 successful applications in just a month to have group meetings and pod group meetings, which we've only been doing for a few weeks. But we've already had 50 or 60 examples of pods working successfully. Last thing to remember, pods must be outside and groups could be inside for 2 hours or less. That's all I've got, Melinda.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, Dee. It's really nice to have that insider scoop into the FAQs and some of the really important things that we hope that people hope that people read through as they go through. And we hope you join us again for another edition of Clover Connections and help us to stay connected to all of our 4-H clubs and groups out there. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.